My name is Bożena Urbanowicz, and I'm a Polish Catholic Holocaust survivor. Today is February 15, 2018. We have a problem with Israel accusing us, Poles, Poland, of complicity in creating the Holocaust of World War II. That's a perversion of history. That should not be allowed. I have been teaching schools about the Holocaust and the plight, using my own story to illustrate what happened to the Polish people, the Polish nation. I have learned more from schools, students, and teachers than I taught them. In November 2002, I belonged to an organization. We were allowed to present a paper if we wanted to the council. I was given permission. I had 15 minutes. I did my research, and this is what I wrote. In the past 13 years of teaching about the Holocaust, I have collected well over 2,500 questionnaires and letters from students and teachers. I have spoken in both private and public schools, temples, churches, universities, and civic organizations, and I've had an opportunity to listen to comments from survivors, educators, and the general public. The most memorable moment in my mind and heart is when an old Jewish man who, after hearing me speak at a local high school, said, "I've been waiting for you. What took you so long to tell your story?" And the Italian teacher at a local Catholic primary school who asked me, "Where are the rest of you Poles? Why are you silent?" One thing I know for sure, I have learned more than I taught. Schools are using inappropriate books as teaching tools, where the Poles are portrayed in negative terms. Books such as Painted Bird and Mouse are proudly displayed in classrooms. Students are getting failing grades for writing about non-Jewish victims or survivors. Teachers and professors claim they never heard this story before. Our children are watching and learning. School and class libraries have none or few books on other than Jewish victims. Non-Jewish students fail to identify with the Holocaust or grasp its enormity and are very surprised, even shocked, to learn about their own co-religionists or ethnic groups' fate during World War II. Parents of non-Jewish students have told me their children feel like second-class citizens after Holocaust lessons. One teacher told me, "Please keep telling your story. Our children must know their own people's story." A teacher said to me, "I have never heard of the Polish victims or the 5 million others. How come our schools teach only the story of the Jewish people?" I told her she is free to express her concerns to her principal or department chairman. "I can't say anything," she says. "My job is on the line," she answered. Early in 1993, I spoke at a school for children of Polish diplomats. During the question and answer period, a girl of about 15 asked me, why do Jews hate us?" In 1993, a member of ADL who has heard me speak before asked me to come and tell the members how I teach the Holocaust. I told them I speak of 11 million victims, and then asked, "Is there any reason why you cannot do the same?" "You know we can't," I was told. At a Catholic high school in New York City, I was invited to speak as a Polish Catholic Holocaust survivor, along with Jewish survivors. A prominent rabbi conducted the interfaith service and continuously mentioned 6 million Jews and others. As he lit 6 candles only, the students and teachers watched in embarrassment and hurt. Our children are watching and learning. In 1992, at a United States Holocaust Memorial Museum seminar for teachers, a young Jewish teacher who led the workshop opened the discussion with, "In Auschwitz, Poles pushed Jews into the ovens. I protested, but was never invited again." At a Holocaust remembrance ceremony taking place at a U.S. Supreme Court building, 6 candles were lit, plus 1 more for the Oklahoma bombing victims. Nothing for the 5 million others. In 1993, at a Holocaust Learning Center, I tried to introduce the story of Zagota as part of the teaching curriculum. I was told, "We can't do that." In 1999, at a Holocaust Learning Center, a contest was offered to students who can write the best story about the Holocaust. A 12-year-old Polish girl, Anya, won the grand prize, but refused to come for the ceremony and picture taking. I was asked to find out why. I called the girl's father, who said it would be best if Anya, told me herself. Anya told me her teacher shortened her story, which gave the story a different ending, with a negative spin on Poles. The father took the girl out of the public school and put her in a private school. Our children are watching and learning. At a local school where I was invited to speak, 2 girls walked me to my car and told me about some Jewish students yanking crucifixes off the Christian students' neck and tossing them into the floor. I asked them if they told their parents. "Yes," they said, and the parents reported this to the principal, who told them, "Kids do that as a prank. It is best to ignore them." I spoke with one of the parents who confirmed this story. What would happen if the incident was in reverse? A teacher in an upstate New York public school posed a question to his students, and a girl of about 13 answered correctly. Whereupon the teacher said to her, "You Polish Nazis are pretty smart." The parents, who are not Polish, are suing the school and the teacher. In America, it has become acceptable, even fashionable, to label Poles as anti-Semites. It should become a trigger word, just like the N-word. Just read our newspapers, letters to the editor, Ed Koch or Rabbi Friedman or Avi Weiss. Our children are watching and learning from us. A university student in Pennsylvania wanted to do his thesis on Polish Catholic Holocaust victims. Not finding enough material on this subject, he traveled to New York to continue his search. He went to YIVO, Piłsudski Institute, and Kosciuszko Foundation. He wound up at my home interviewing survivors for 6 days. His professor, who never heard this story, hesitatingly gave him a passing grade. 5th graders at a school in another state adopted me as their Catholic survivor and daily emailed me questions. One boy of Polish-Russian parents asked me, "Why do Poles hate Jews?" I asked him where he heard this, and he said the class is reading and discussing a book called Jacob's Rescue. I quickly went out and bought the book and read it during lunch. The next day, the teacher phoned me, very excited, saying she had no idea why the boy asked me that. My impression was the teacher added more to the book than the author wrote. I, with several Polish Catholic concentration camp survivors, attended a local fundraising dinner for the Holocaust Learning Center. The main speaker opened his remarks with, "The Holocaust is the murder of 6 million Jews. The rest were incidental casualties, such as the bombing victims in Dresden." To this day, I regret that we didn't stand up and walk out in a silent protest. At a private high school, I asked students, "What is the first thing you think of when you hear the word Holocaust?" Some said it was a Jewish food, a Jewish holiday. Finally, one boy said, the Holocaust was the extermination of 6 million Jews. I waited. And then he turned around to his friends and said, oh, we don't have to worry, right? We're not Jewish. Bingo, I thought, that is why we must teach the Holocaust of 11 million, not only 6. Our children are watching and learning. A chairman of Holocaust Studies Committee wrote to the New York Diocese offering speakers and material on the Holocaust of Polish Catholic victims. The diocese responded, thank you, but we get all our material from the New York Jewish Heritage Museum. We Poles are failing to teach the children the whole story. Schools and libraries are not supplied with the resources they need to teach the whole story of the 11 million victims. It is very important that we look at ourselves as we really are. Do not be afraid, the Pope said not long ago. I think it is good advice for all of us. Poles, do not think for 1 minute that it's up to somebody else to tell our story. It is up to all of us. I have a favorite expression that I say to myself often. If it's to be, it's up to me.